It's Vegas week. It's Viva Las Vegas. Vegas, the entertainment capital of the world, the only place where you can get a buffet blackjack and have a five-star dinner all within a couple feet of each other. However, this game means a lot more. It's played in an NFL venue that, with both teams having hopefuls of playing on Sundays one day. For Notre Dame, they thought they were going to be in a situation where they would be dictating this game. They now find themselves 2-2 after a rough start. They also don't have the quarterback they imagined. Drew Pine, the high school quarterback from Connecticut, is undefeated as the starting quarterback. But now, if you're the Cougars and BYU, you have a quarterback who's been fabulous. You have a run game that's been decent. You have a team that has been finding a way to get it done when you've needed it the most. But now, the question is, Catholics or Mormons in Sin City? Well, that's the Shamrock Series. We'll bring it all down here on the Shamrock Sports right after this. So happy to have you with us on the second floor of the Duncan Student Center. I'm with a star-studded group. We never get to get on the desk together, but man, do we get us all together. We got JJ Post, John Bailey. We're so happy to have you with us. It's Viva Las Vegas, baby. I think Bugs Bunny said it best in the Looney Tunes movie.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you.
Viva Las Vegas. It's what you need. And Notre Dame's Shamrock Series games find its way to Sin City, taking on BYU. So let's start it off with everyone needs to know, what do they need to know? Keys for Notre Dame to get a win.
I think number one has to be to force BYU out of their tempo.
Yeah.
I think heading into this game, maybe from the summer, you expect Notre Dame to be the ones dictating the pace of this game. That's not the case anymore. This is now BYU's game to play it on their terms. They're the team with the ranking. They're the team with the New Year's Six bowl to chase. Notre Dame's the one who has to play catch-up. So if you're Notre Dame, you need to make BYU play out of system. You look at how they play their offense. They like to go quick. They like to read fast. They want to have their offense, be based on Jaron Hall hitting his first read, going quick. You see here, he has time in the pocket. Waits for it to open up, it'll open eventually. Notre Dame's cornerbacks cannot be beat. They did a good job against UNC's passing attack of forcing Drake May to improvise, forcing him to go second, third read, and that's when they got the sack. That's when they got their first turnover of the year. They need more of that against BYU. More stuff where they force BYU out of system, where they make Jaron Hall go past his first read. He can't find that quick check down. He can't find that quick slant. If he's not throwing those balls, BYU is going to struggle, I think, to adjust their offensive game plan, maybe slow down the tempo a bit. If the game's played at a fast tempo, that's going to be all BYU. If the game's on a slow tempo, that's where Notre Dame's going to thrive.
Grit and grind, baby.
Grit and grind. And Jaron Hall has over 1,400 passing yards already in this young season, so he's definitely getting in on it, John. But what's going to be a key to the game for you, man?
So this is week 6, right? Fifth game of the Marcus Freeman, sixth game of the Marcus Freeman era, right?
Yeah. You gotta include the Oklahoma State game.
I try not to most of the time, but this is his team, and we must form our identity around Marcus Freeman. So what do I think of then? I think of defense. Stout defense. And that's really where the strength of this team lies. We talked about it all season long. That front 7 unit is a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
That defensive line is one of the best in the country, and it's about time they start actually playing like that, right? I was really impressed against North Carolina. They were able to get a 46% hurry rate on only 20% of blitzing. Yeah. So that's pretty efficient when you're able just to rush 4 guys and still get effective pressure. Definitely need to bring that this week, because we talked about Jaron Hall a little bit, right? A lot of questions. Is this guy 24 years old right now going to be an NFL starter? Is he a first-round talent? Is he elite? I don't know about that, but he's pretty darn good in college. The way he's able to absolutely carve defenses apart. Like you said, 1,400 passing yards. That's good for third most in the country. Passer rating of 162.8.
12 TDs.
Right? Yeah, if Drew Pine could get to that, I would be ecstatic. So that's all I'm going to say for now. But you know what his biggest weakness is? Doesn't do well under pressure. We can definitely play into that, because BYU's offensive line is one of the weakest we faced all year long. They're 42nd in sacks allowed. So I think that if Isaiah Foskey, Riley Mills, those guys can get some penetration into the backfield, it made Jaron Hall uncomfortable. Yeah. Make him a little frazzled. Big game, under the lights in Vegas. If he has to take off running, throw the ball away. We saw that against Baylor. Yeah. He had to, toss that ball to the sidelines a little often. Maybe one time he gets a little cocky, tries to force something, and get a turnover. With only 1 interception this year, it's going to be key. If you can get just 1, double that total.
Well, that brings up a good, interesting point here for Notre Dame. They're a defense team that everyone thought this was going to be the team. We had Marcus Freeman. We had the defense. You thought that was going to be a pillar of a foundation that they were going to stand on. But then week 1 came. It held Ohio State. Okay. giving up a couple points. Then Marshall, not great against Marshall. Then you continue on against Cal, still not great. Then you continue on against UNC. You found it a little bit, but now the biggest question is now you're going up against an actual offense. You're going up against a top quarterback. JJ, is the defense going to show out?
I mean, I'll push back on the notion that the defense hasn't already showed out against top offense. Ohio State's offense very well might be the best in the country.
Correct.
UNC's offense is averaging, what, 45 points a game?
Yeah.
I think it's a success in itself. And if you take away the garbage time touchdown, they held that offense to 20 points. And I think that in itself is a success. You know, really, I think the defense all year has been good. It hasn't been enough to carry Notre Dame to some elite record, but I don't think it's, you know, unfair to say the defense has very much done its job and then some for this team. You know, but the problem is they've been too much bend but don't break. They haven't forced the, they haven't forced the point of attack on teams. I think that's where Notre Dame's defense needs to develop, because right now they're doing a good job of, just grinding these teams down, forcing these fourth and longs, forcing punts, but they haven't forced the turnover yet, or they forced one turnover against UNC. But when you play with an offense that needs a jump start, that needs a short field often, you kind of need to get turnovers. You know, the defense needs to be doing even more than what they're already doing. And I think, once again, it's a bit unfair to the defense because they've played well so far. They've performed well against, one of the best Ohio State offenses we've ever seen. They've performed well against a UNC offense that's been ripping teams apart. But still, just because the offense is that, slow to get up to speed right now, it needs to be more. They need to force turnovers. They need to shorten the field up for the offense. They need to, at minimum, get the team in field position area into positions where field position can be beneficial to the offense. I think that's where the defense against BYU, they're really going to need to thrive, because, this BYU offense, once again, it's no joke, but they beat UNC. They did their part to beat Ohio State, but they still haven't had a game where the defense was the reason we won the game.
Yeah.
I think against BYU, that's going to be the game where that needs to happen.
Yeah, I definitely feel like BYU is North Carolina, but just a little bit better. So I think
Only a little bit, but hold on, John. Hold on.
Okay, their offense is a little bit better. Their defense is a lot bit better.
Hold on, only a little bit. I don't think that's fair to say because they're only a little bit better. Only a little bit better. Come on, dude. They're actually ranked. AP polls think they're
ranked
very
the Tar
better.
Heels.
Yeah. Actually ranked. I mean, come on now.
Will they still be ranked
They
after they lose this
survived a
week?
Baylor team that just got their boat raced by Oklahoma State,
Okay.
and then they lost. Like, come on, they should be ranked, but let's not act like they're a juggernaut here. We respect our opponents, but this is BYU, not Jesus Christ and the 11 disciples playing offense. Like, let's settle down the respect.
Brigham Young isn't breaking out the army to defend Utah
no.
right
They're
now.
not bringing up Brigham Young for me?
No.
They're not even the best team in
They're
Utah.
not just that. That's true. Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. But hold on. So back.
Yeah, so like I say, I think that you can execute a very similar game plan. And honestly, you talked about not breaking. I think that's kind of what they need to do this week because because BYU rather, is so good at breaking out those big plays. They really struggle to get consistent offense churning a lot of times, and they have one of the lowest third down conversion rates in the country, with also abysmal special teams. Their kicker has been horribly inconsistent
Save
this
the line.
year. Yeah, right? If you special teams make special
There
teams.
it is.
If they're not special,
make special teams.
special losses then, right?
true.
Oh, special
So that
loss.
would be, I think, a great way to flip the field is they're not going to be able to run the ball on you at all. They had negative 21 rushing yards last week against Utah State, who's 115th in the country in rushing yards allowed per game. So that just tells you, kind of what they're dealing with. So if you're just able to kind of, drop guys back into coverage every time, play those deep safeties against guys like Keanu Hill, and just, make sure when they get to the red zone, don't let them score a touchdown. If you can hold them to 3 every time, that's a win in my opinion. Especially
Did you see their
when,
kicker against Baylor?
Yeah, nothing's a chip shot.
Make them take field goals. I'm not exactly, overly concerned with
Nothing's
his
a
ability.
chip shot with that guy. If it's 37 yards, I'll still be, fingers crossed he misses.
It's
and there's
30
a good
yards.
chance, right?
Cross the fingers.
Well, that's the biggest question is because you look at both these two teams, if you look at the stat lines, they're pretty even, -1, and that's passing yards. BYU's averaging 300 a game. Notre Dame's averaging just a little bit over 200, and that's the big question right now is for Notre Dame is Drew Pine.
Drew Pine's our guy.
Drew Pine's our guy. Ride
Listen,
the Pine.
Stetson Bennett won a national title last year.
Oh,
I'm not in
okay.
the business of saying serviceable quarterbacks don't win you games. Drew Pine, to his credit, since Tommy Rees had a certain moment that I will not repeat,
certain phone call.
I'm sure higher ups in NBC were not happy about. He's played way better. You know, Drew Pine, he's not going to break this game wide open for you. He's not going to have the deep ball that, you know, is going to get you up the field in, 5 seconds. But what he has done is chosen the right reads, escaped the pocket when he needs to, made the right decisions when he needs to, and, I think that's all Notre Dame needs to be a good team. Maybe they're not going to be a national title contender, but I don't think they were ever a national title contender. What they need to be a team that can achieve realistic goals, which is make a New Year's Six Bowl, because you're not eliminated from a New Year's Six Bowl with 2 losses. What they need to do to make a New Year's Six Bowl is have Drew Pine play serviceable, have him, I think he knows he's not going to throw 60 yards down the field on every play. And I think that is what makes him, someone that can take control of this guy. He's a leader on and off the field. He's someone that, obviously knows what it, means to be in this spot and wants to take that opportunity. I think so far, he's shown that he can develop his game to fit this Notre Dame offense, and the Notre Dame offense can, even if it's taken some time, develop itself so it fits his skill set.
Yeah, I believe in commander check down, Drew Pine. I think that you could totally win with him. However, you're going to need everything else to be outstanding. The reason why Stetson Bennett won a championship is because that defense was the best in the country, and they had the #1 pick on that team. Yeah. So I think the rest of the unit's going to have to step up if we're going to see a New Year's Six. But honestly, I think you can still have a great season regardless of how... You don't have to be the #1 team in the country to still make a good bowl game and win most of the games on your schedule.
Yeah. However, there's not just football going on this weekend. Postseason baseball is finally upon us. It's October. So Andrew McGinnis is able to detail all of that. Andrew, take it away.
Well, it's certainly a big week in college football, especially for the Irish, but it's also an exciting time in Major League Baseball. The postseason is about to get underway with a new expanded format this year, as 6 teams from each league are playing under the bright lights of October. In the new format, the division winners with the 2 best records in each league get automatic buys to the division series. In the National League, that's the powerhouse Los Angeles Dodgers, in the postseason for the 10th consecutive year, and the defending World Series champion Atlanta Braves. As for the AL, the defending league champion Houston Astros and Aaron Judge-led Yankees are already locked into the ALDS. As for everyone else, the division winner with the worst record in each league hosts the 3rd wildcard team, a new seed added for 2022. The 1st and 2nd wildcard teams will face off against each other as well, and this isn't just a sudden death play-in like in years past. It's now a best-of-3 series with a higher seed hosting all 3 games. In the American League, that means the red-hot, pitching-heavy Cleveland Guardians will host the Tampa Bay Rays, who had the best record in the entire AL in 2021. The Toronto Blue Jays are one of 2 teams in this year's tournament who made it after firing their manager mid-season, as Toronto went 45-27 under interim manager John Schneider to reach the postseason in a full season for the first time since 2016. But that weight pales in comparison to their opponent, the Seattle Mariners, who snapped the longest active drought across the 4 major sports leagues. They're in the postseason this year for the first time since 2001. Seattle's clinched passed the baton for longest active postseason drought in baseball to the Phillies, who held it for all of 3 days before clinching the last remaining spot on Monday. The Phillies will return to the postseason on the 11-year anniversary of their last postseason game, which happened to be against their current opponent, the St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinal mainstays Yadier Molina and Albert Pujols were key parts of the Cardinals team that upset the 102-win Phillies in 2011 en route to winning the World Series. Another NL East team ended a lengthy wait for the postseason as well, as the New York Mets qualified for the first time since 2016. They've struggled a bit down the stretch, but are still a stacked team led by an unfathomable 1-2 punch of Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer. They'll take on the San Diego Padres, making just their 2nd postseason trip since 2006. Even without star shortstop Fernando Tatis Jr., the Padres still have plenty of talent, especially after adding 2-time All-Star and Silver Slugger Juan Soto at the trade deadline. The postseason begins today with a best-of-3 wildcard round lasting until Sunday. NL and ALDS action begins on Tuesday, October 11th. Back to you guys.
We welcome you inside the college football courtroom, or the Vegas divorce court, if you want. I'm Honorable Jacob Irons. I know everything there is to know about college football. Well, maybe. I didn't really play football, but I know a lot about college football. I have my gavel, my trusty football. We have our 2 lovely contestants playing today on every yes or no. We have J.J. Post, the honorable lawyer from Northwestern, who got his little law degree. And then we have John, who's from Notre Dame, and working the swagger here a little bit. So let's start it off on our first conversation, a topic in the Vegas divorce court. Notre Dame ranks 96 in passing yards per game. Will they develop through the rest of the season?
Well, I mean, it's hard for them to get worse. You know, I mean, listen, we have how many 4 stars on this wide receiver core? You know, Drew Pine, for all the jokes we'll make, is still a 4-star quarterback himself. We have an offensive line that is stacked with talent, 2 NFL-level players bookending him. I think it's just hard to imagine them getting worse. I don't think this offense is exactly game-breaking, but I do think they're not one of the 30 worst units in the country. So I think just by metric of improving to the mean, law of averages, they have to get better at some point.
Whoa, now a rebuttal.
You know, that sounds a lot like when people say, oh, if Patrick Mahomes had an average season, he'd be an average quarterback. I tell you, this passing attack is not average. It is subpar. That, like, mostly has to do with the wide receiver recruiting, as we mentioned for several past years. We're not bringing in the best guys in the slightest. We have Michael Mayer and maybe Lorenzo Styles.
That's a big if, though. We have Michael Mayer.
Yeah, but if you trouble,
he still catches passes.
He's not going to be able to do that. But we don't need to have a good pass game because we have our identity in the run game. We grit, we grind, and we have object estimate, die forward for 4 yards every play. That's fine with me. The offensive line is going to dominate the line of scrimmage, get that time of possession going, and we are just going to grind teams in submission with that running attack. We don't need to pass the ball when you get 5 yards to carry.
I favor NJJ. This team will develop. This is a team that will find its way to get going again. Let me tell you, this trusty football has never steered me wrong. I have been a very honest and honorable judge on this court.
When in doubt, choose the Notre Dame homer take.
Notre Dame will develop. All right, now it's College Game Day's game of the week. It's the battle of the unbeatens in the Big 12. It's Kansas and TCU. But the biggest question is, guys, is Kansas and the Jayhawks no longer just a basketball school?
Not at all.
Oh.
See, I love a good underdog story, right? But see, the last time we were high on the Jayhawks, started 5-0, ranked again, 2009. You know at the end of that season? 5-7. They lost 7 straight games in a row. Will it be that bad? Probably not. I think the Jayhawks are bowl-bound, which is a good improvement. But ultimately, they have a bit of a tough schedule. Do they have any chance against TCU, a team that has blown out almost every team so far this season, a team that dominated the Oklahoma Sooners, which maybe not Big 12 contender, but still a good team this year? I think that it's going to be really rough down the stretch. They maybe win 7, 8 games this year, but I can't say they're a legit contender for anything when you aren't even competing for the Big 12, one of the weakest conferences in the country as of now.
I'd like to rebut on 2 fronts. First, who was the coach in 2009? For one, it wasn't Lance Leopold, perhaps the most winningest coach in lower division football history. Whoa. The guy has won everywhere he's been. He went to Buffalo. Buffalo is one of the most notoriously difficult jobs to get winning. In 2 years, he got them winning. He had Kansas beat Texas last year, and this year, they're on another roll again. But secondly, I'd like to point out, you talk about a team that can contend for anything, and then you say 8 wins. Have you seen the Big 12 lately? 8 wins can win you the Big 12. This is a team that just needs to win when it matters. And I think they're showing the traits of a team that can adapt, that they can find ways to win different ways. They've boat race teams. They put up 40 points, 50 points. They have one of the highest scoring offenses in the country heading into the Ohio State game.
They did it against Duke. They did it against West Virginia. They've done it a bunch against
Respect
a bunch
West
of bad
Virginia?
teams. I really don't. I don't think the opponents have been good, and I also think that you're going to see Oklahoma State and TCU destroyed.
How about Iowa State? Iowa State's a good team.
Order.
3 points.
Order. They don't listen to anything we talk about in the production meetings about time limits. But I favor Kansas, not a legit team.
You're an enemy of the state, Jacob.
They are not legit.
Twitter will have your head for this.
The Jayhawks are not. However, we'll move on. It's Red River weekend, baby. It's Texas and Oklahoma. But is it overrated?
It's always overrated. This matchup, I know what you're going to say. It's a big rivalry. It matters. The 2 schools care. They play at the Cotton Bowl. It's all fun and games. The 2 teams aren't good. Who cares? Kansas TCU is a better matchup. It's been a better matchup. This Oklahoma defense brought in the defensive guru in Brent Venables, and then they got boat raced by TCU. This Texas team, I think usually I'm the #1 let's make fun of Texas person. They've been pretty good this year. That being said, pretty good isn't good enough to be in the top 25 right now when you are losing to the likes of Bama's a fair loss. We'll give them their credit for that. That I won't hate on them. But Texas Tech, however, is not the type of team a team playing in a top 5 matchup loses to. This is a game between 2 teams that are always overrated and will continue to be overrated.
Order. Move it.
Is it game day worthy this week? No. But I don't think you can argue that a single matchup is what's going to just completely dishonor and make such a historic.
If
and
my dorm
prevalent
team plays
rivalry.
alumni ball at the Cotton Bowl, does it make it any better, John?
It does, if that has been such a time-honored tradition. I think we need to have more reverence for the past. That we look
Reverence for the past.
at what makes college football special.
The Texas offense agrees with you.
The college football experience is made special by the pomp and circumstance, by the history, and by the tradition. We look at two great programs in Texas and Oklahoma who have won almost more than anyone else. They have bad blood, and trust me, when two teams really hate each other like that, and the horns down, get you punched in the throat, you know that's got to be a good game.
All right, that's time. My grandfather was able to go to the Red River Showdown. It's Horns Up and Boomer Sooner. It's a good matchup. All right, let's move it. Let's see it. Jimbo Fisher in the hot seat. Texas A&M once again can't find its way in the SEC. Is Jimbo in the hot seat, and could he be without a job by the end of the year?
You know, I believe in Jimbo Fisher. I think he's actually quite a good coach. We forget all too soon, especially in the SEC. People have way too short memories in the SEC. You see Paul Feinbaum going, Paul, I swear,
they ain't
Texas
playing
A&M,
nobody, Paul.
They ain't playing nobody. They can't compete with the Alabamas. Nick Saban just something else, Paul. But ultimately, I think Jimbo Fisher has everything you want in a coach. He has that championship pedigree, and he knows how to recruit, which is the most important thing in this day and age, and they have money with that NIL. We can't forget that Texas A&M, people argued, should have gone into the playoff over Notre Dame just recently. And that is success. I don't care what you say. It's not championship or bust unless you're a crazy Aggie fan, which they are, albeit a bit of a cult. And really, I think it's just the donors kind of flex right now. It's a money contest.
Move it.
What do they got on that team? 13 5-stars in the last year? 40 total. This team is too good to, listen, I think hot seat might be a bit too harsh of a term for what Jimbo Fisher is on right now because, listen, he still is probably going to win 9 games this year. He still is next year going to be in a position where he will win 9 games, and that is a good coach. But at Texas A&M, a program that, in their vision at least, has such a proud tradition of winning 10 games instead of 9 and almost making the playoff instead of not making the playoff, that's not really what they're going to look for. And, he's valued at, $95 million right now? They'll find whatever oil they need to get him out. This is a program that, prides itself on being money rich. If they don't like what they see, they will get him out. And right now, I think the boosters aren't happy.
That 12th man is feeling up his wallet right now.
Boosters always win. He'll be out. All right, let's move on to our final topic of Vegas Divorce Court, College Football Edition. Notre Dame's coaching staff is young. There's no way around it, minus Al Golden. It's probably the most experienced team, but are you sold on the coaching staff so far?
The rocky start had me questioning my faith. I felt a bit like Job, shaking my fist at Jack Swarbrick, asking him why this team had forsaken me. But then I heard the answer ringing from the top of the Duncan Student Center, and that was, trust the process, young one. Have faith. I have you. And that is giving me all I need to know that this team is young. This coaching staff is young, but they're going to grow into it because they have the intangibles. They have what's important, and they know how to relate to young players. They're innovative, and they're able to bring in top recruiting prospects. It'd be unfair to give Marcus Freeman credit for the success or failure of this team this year. It's Brian Kelly's guys. You got to wait for his guys to come in to implement his system, and if they do well, he's successful. I think he will.
All right, let's hear the rebuttal.
John, I'm stealing your glasses. I have seen the vision. I am moving on from the Homer take, not just to boost our ability to have disagreements, but also because, listen, there have been 4 games this year. There have been 5 games in total under the Marcus Freeman era. It's not fair to say you're sold on them, even if they were having some of the best 4 games you've ever seen. It's been 4 games. Things could get a lot better from here. They could also get a lot worse. This is a lot of unproven on this staff right now. I'm not saying we need to get rid of everybody. I'm also saying, just by nature of there being, how many total minutes of football right now? A couple hundred? There is a lot to be found out of this team. I don't want to make any judgment on them, positive or negative, until the season's over at a minimum. And until they play the top 5 team.
All right. College football courtroom favors. They're pretty good. They'll be fine.
We're 2-2.
Yeah.
They're 500. They are literally average.
Yeah, young team.
Statistically average.
All right. Order in this court. I'm the honorable Jacob Irons.
Get him thrown out.
However, we're not just talking football on this show. Ryan Murphy leads a look around the entire Notre Dame landscape in this fall sports recap. Ryan, what's you got cooking?
Hey everybody, my name is Ryan Murphy here with your fall sports recap. So glad to have you along. Let's dive right in first with cross country, who hosted the Joe Piani Invitational here in South Bend last weekend. The men's team took first place in their 5-mile race, just beating out Alabama and Tennessee. The leader for the men in that one was Kevin Berry, who finished in a time of 23 minutes and 31.9 seconds. He was closely followed by Carter Solomon and Isaiah Sturry, fellow Irish, finishing in that top group. In the women's blue 500-meter race, Notre Dame took fourth behind NC State, who took the top spot, New Mexico, and Alabama. Olivia Marquezich took the top scoring position for the Irish, which was 8th in a time of 16 minutes and 17.9 seconds. The Irish go to Madison next weekend for the Wisconsin Nuttycombe Invitational after having an off weekend this weekend. Turning now to volleyball, who has an overall record of 5-9 and dropped a close one last Sunday to Clemson here at home by a 3-2 score. The Irish had a season team high 21 blocks in that game and had some personal highs as well, as Charity McDowell led the team with 10 blocks, a career high for her. Paris Thompson had 16 kills, also a career high, and Fiona Schrader shined for the Irish with 34 assists and 24 digs. The Irish hit the road this weekend against Syracuse tonight at 7 o'clock, and then they will travel down to Chestnut Hill to take on Boston College at 4 o'clock on Sunday. That game on the ACC network. It's sure to be a tough road stint for the Irish. Syracuse comes into the game having won their last 4. They're also 4-0 in ACC play, which puts them in a 3-way tie for first. BC, on the other hand, has an overall record of 13-5, but they've lost their last 2 and are 1-3 in ACC play. After the road stint this weekend, the Irish will return home next weekend as they host Wake Forest on Friday and Virginia Tech on Sunday. Finally, in some other action around campus this weekend, men's soccer returns home to take on Louisville at 7 o'clock on Saturday night. The team lost on Wednesday night down in Bloomington to Indiana by a 1-0 score. So they'll be coming home for a primetime ACC matchup on Saturday. And then the women's team will play Florida State at noon on Sunday. Finally, although this is the fall sports recap, winter sports are right around the corner, as indicated by the men's hockey team, who kicks off their season tonight with a big game against the #1 overall ranked and the defending national champion Denver Pioneers. That game at 9 o'clock tonight at Magnus Arena in Denver. The team will then go to Colorado Springs to take on Air Force at 8 o'clock tomorrow. Thanks for joining us again here for the fall sports recap. My name is Ryan Murphy, sending it back to the guys at the desk.
Well, thank you so much, Ryan, for that fabulous segment, getting us a glimpse about what else is going on around Notre Dame athletics. And speaking of going around Notre Dame athletics, earlier today I had the opportunity to sit down with Sophia Fisher, a midfielder for the women's soccer team, talking about their big matchup that Ryan already also alluded to against Florida State. So take a look right here, our sit-down interview. So happy to have you with us, second floor of the Duncan Student Center. So happy to be joined by my good friend and classmate, Sophia Fisher. Soph, got to talk. She's on the women's soccer team, a standout star with them. Soph, what have you seen thus far in your team that has proven to be a top contender in the ACC?
I think when we come together and we put it all out there and work hard, I think we're unbeatable. I think that our work rate and our press is unreal, and I think we can beat anyone.
Can beat anyone. And you saw that last night, 3-0 victory over NC State, a quality opponent. Many people are sleeping on them, that they might not be next caliber ACC team. However, they're a good team. They came in with the same record you guys had, a 2-2 within the conference. Were able to get an assist to Corbin Albert. What was that game like for you guys?
I think that was a pivotal game for us. Now we are 10-2, which I think is huge. And I think for NC State and for us, it was a big game. And in order to get the win, and a good, convincing win was huge for us.
Yeah, and that's a very convincing win nonetheless, especially when you're having a large game on Sunday against Florida State on ESPNU at noon. Going into that game, what are you thinking? What's the team thinking in this situation?
I mean, we have nothing to lose. We just need to go out there and prove ourselves, work hard again, and yeah, I think we can really bring it to them.
They're the #1 scoring offense in the country. How are you, as a midfielder in particular, looking to try and allow yourself the opportunity to be in a good spot to not allow as many goals against a team that's potent?
I mean, our defense has been so strong this year. We have Ava Gattino back there. She's huge for us. And I think in every part, midfield, offense, defense, I think we're strong. And I think that if we get it up to Liv and Corbin, I think we can really put some goals up.
You talked about it right there. Liv and Corbin have been fabulous soccer players, to say the least. You saw Corbin Albert, who had gone a little silent since St. Louis, comes back and finds her 2 goals last night, a brace. Can you speak to Corbin Albert? We knew she had talent. We understood she had talent. She played for the U20 national team, of course. But what is it like seeing her come back and maybe rejuvenate when you need her the most?
Yeah, I think Corbin is always going to be an asset, whether she's scoring or not. But I think it was huge for her last night to be able to step up and score those 2 goals. The second goal especially, like, really changed the momentum, which is huge for us. But yeah, no, I mean, she's huge in the offense, and I'm excited for her.
Yeah, really big focal point in the offense. However, you're a focal point in the offense. Getting in there, you gave her an assist yesterday, and then you've also scored your fair share of times, especially in that St. Louis game with a laser, of course. What is it like? I understand, like, I'm not a soccer guy by any means. What is it like in that motion when you score that goal?
I mean, honestly, just being on the field and, like, I honestly black out when I score.
You can't remember it?
I never know what's going on. When it goes in, I act so surprised because I'm like, it went in. But no, it's just fun.
You have no faith in yourself?
No, but it's so fun being out there with everyone, and it's a big team effort, you know? And I think it's great. I love it.
And you talked about it. This team might be one of the closest teams that ND has produced so far. Can you speak to that camaraderie you guys have on a day in and day out basis?
Yeah, I just think that our culture is just, like, amazing, and I think it's huge that we're all, like, friends off the field, because when we come together, it's like just instant connection, which is huge.
And then you guys have, I think, what many would call a balanced roster. You have a great group of some graduate students, you have a great group of experience, you have yourself, which is in that middle group of, like, sophomores and juniors that have seen it, but then you also have some star-studded freshmen as well. You saw Mensick get her first career start. How do you feel about these freshmen, understanding that you were there a year ago in that position?
Yeah, I mean, our freshman class is awesome. I think they've brought something to the team that we didn't have before. I think everyone that's come in has been great. Even on the field, off the field, on the bench, I think our dynamics it's unreal. It's great.
And many people would call the person sitting next to me the hype train for girls soccer. You see her, like, she's tossing out when she's rolling the dice, tosses out when the starting lineup comes out. You're a person that, like, you got to have the camera on her when she's on the bench because you bring the energy. And what do you feel about that brings the energy? Why do you think that's so important for not just yourself, but also for the team?
I mean, I think on the bench, a big thing that, like, we all talk about is, like, if we can bring the energy, then, like, it's going to translate to the field. I personally love doing the little dice roll for everyone when the names are being announced. I think it's a lot of fun. But yeah, I think when we beat UVA a couple weeks ago, I think the bench was so hype, and I think the energy totally translate, and yeah, it's great.
Well, that's a big matchup. You maybe had that. They knocked off the #2 team, UVA, almost a week ago, and they're looking to do so again against FSU on Sunday against the #3 team in the country. Can catch that one on ESPNU, but can't thank Soph taking the time to talk to us on a busy and packed Friday here. But thank you so much. We'll send it back to the desk. Thank you so much. What a great, fabulous interview I was able to do. Soph's great friend, is able to talk a little women's soccer. I know me and you, JJ, always love when we get to talk a little football on this show instead of a little football. However, let's bring it back to football here. Let's talk Shamrock Series in general. What's been your favorite location, and where should Notre Dame go next?
There's only one location I like, and there's only one location it should be.
Okay.
Soldier Field. Because you want to abolish the Shamrock Series. These games are home games for us. Home games are opportunities for students to go to games. You know how many students you're going to see in Las Vegas this week? I'm going to hazard not that many.
Oh, I was gonna say a lot.
Do you take a look at how much those flights cost?
Yeah, I know.
You know how much those flights cost?
You got to drive to Chicago. Well, they're going to be expensive.
Too much for the average college, unless you can pay with donor dollars, which you cannot. Shamrock Series, it's a cool concept. Notre Dame has a large national fan base, and I like, the idea of going to travel and, having those fans be able to see Notre Dame play. That being said, at the end of the day, these home games are for students. It is a student, led, or at least in the stadium, it is the students that are making the noise. It is the students that have the largest consistent section, and you need to make, if you're going to do Shamrock Series, play a Big Ten team every year at Soldier Field, or whatever they end up, the Soldier Dome, whatever the Chicago is doing with that. Play Northwestern in that brand new Ryan Field Dome, whatever they're
That would actually be pretty nice.
Listen, play a rotating team in Soldier Field. That would be a cool Shamrock Series concept, because that game was fun. You got everyone on the South Shore line, the beautiful hallmark to Midwestern
Going right through Gary.
Going right through Michigan City, right through Gary, all the way up to Millennium Station. That was a fun weekend for everyone. Las Vegas, where, I don't know, a couple hundred kids at most are going to get to go, if that.
All right.
It's not, it's not the same. And I think Shamrock Series in the future should be, if you do it, Midwestern almost exclusively.
Got it. John?
Yeah, no, it's a completely fair point that it excludes the students a lot of times, and that is kind of unfair. But at the same time, I just think there is so much to Notre Dame's brand. It is so national and even international. We might get to that soon. It's a shame to waste it by staying here. Not everybody wants to come to South Bend, Indiana, and come see the Irish play.
Whoa,
but
what do you mean?
But talk about all the alumni that do live in Texas or California or New York. And I actually think it'd be nice, instead of going to Soldier Field, they went to Wrigley. That's another great historic venue. We've done a couple ballparks before. I know we've done Fenway, we've done Yankee Stadium. I think just add that to the list then would be really cool. I think Hawaii, make Manti Te'o proud, would be a good venue. The NFL's moved out, Pro Bowl, no more. I think that could be interesting. Little spring break trip there, but do it in the fall to Hawaii.
Ooh, fall break, a line out there.
I schedule these better if they're going to do like. The fact that this isn't fall break is obscene to me.
All right. And the other thing, maybe, go to Wembley. Take after the NFL stadium. Go to London. Go abroad. You're going to Dublin. You might as well go to London.
The quality of play is atrocious, dude.
I think it'd be fun.
We talked about the past and now. Let's take a look at what these jerseys are this year for Notre Dame. They're really sick. They're icy whites. Got that 1842 on the back right there on the collar. Then you got some nice Art Deco. Keep it with the classic. You don't want to do anything different. Art Deco font. You got that shoulder stripe. You're making sure their domes out there representing out. And then, of course, you got to get the monogram in there. And, man, those things are cold as ice. However, also happening this weekend, if you didn't know, there's other stuff going on this weekend besides Notre Dame football and Viva Las Vegas. However, making sure that we expand our horizons beyond Notre Dame football is Tyler Reedy breaking it all down of what to watch on your weekend. Tyler.
Welcome back to another episode of Watching the Weekend with me, Tyler Reedy. You know the drill, college football, NFL, but this week we'll be introducing a new sport to the mix, so let's get right into it. College football game of the week in Lawrence, Kansas? You bet. The Jayhawks are ranked for the first time since 2009, and they'll face a fellow undefeated Big 12 team in TCU. The Red River rivalry might not have playoff implications, but don't sleep on it. Texas and Oklahoma brought us a game to remember last year, though neither team made the conference title game. Tennessee is still perfect coming off a bye week, but Death Valley spares no victims. Can LSU continue its recent surge, or will the Vols take another step in their potential playoff quest? Oklahoma State returns home to Stillwater after a massive win at Baylor. Texas Tech, however, will be ready for this one, as this is the 5th consecutive ranked opponent for the Red Raiders. Dorian Thompson-Robinson was a human highlight reel for UCLA in their ranked win over Washington. He and the Bruins will try to remain undefeated with a tough Utah team coming to the Rose Bowl. It's Week 5 in the NFL, and the Kenny Pickett era is officially underway in Pittsburgh. Steeler fans will be excited to see how he performs against Josh Allen and Buffalo after their come-from-behind win. While we likely won't see the Chargers and Browns combine for 89 points again, expect another close one between two teams sitting at 500. LA is happy to have the offense back on track after a bumpy start. Dak Prescott is still out for the Cowboys, yet they just keep on winning. They now travel to Los Angeles looking to capitalize on the Rams, who are reeling after a rough division loss in San Francisco. The Eagles are the only remaining undefeated team in the NFL, heading to Arizona this week. In this headliner matchup, former Oklahoma quarterbacks Jalen Hurts and Kyler Murray will meet for just the second time. And Sunday Night Football brings two Super Bowl hopefuls together, as Cincinnati and Baltimore collide. The Bengals hope to displease Charm City again after sweeping both of last year's matchups with the Ravens. It's Vegas week, so why don't we extend your weekend just a little bit with some hockey? NHL opening night is Tuesday as the Lightning visit Madison Square Garden in a conference final rematch with the Rangers. Moving ahead to Wednesday, Johnny Gaudreau is set to make his Columbus Blue Jackets debut. The Jackets will open in Carolina,
where the Hurricanes are poised to extend their postseason appearance streak to 5 consecutive years. 2007 was the last time both Boston and Washington missed the playoffs, and these two heavyweight fighters will take the ice again on Wednesday night with high expectations once again. And when will the reigning Stanley Cup champions return to action, you ask? Well, Colorado says goodbye to the Cup and hello to the new season when they host the Chicago Blackhawks this coming Wednesday night. Also, don't forget to tune into MLB's Wildcard Weekend like Andrew McGinnis told you earlier in the show. It's the best time of the year in sports, ladies and gentlemen, so enjoy it, and I'll see you next time. Back to you, Jake Irons.
Thank you so much, Tyler. Great information, and hockey, if you didn't know, is back. Notre Dame's hockey also kicks off this weekend. They go to Colorado, take on Denver, and then Air Force. You can hear that call on the Notre Dame radio network on top of it there. However, let's talk about it, guys. Score predictions. It's that part of the show, our favorite part. I know. John, you were so pumped. Let's go to you first. Baby. Who's winning this game and why?
It's all coming down to big game estimate. I'm telling you, Notre Dame is just going to pound the ball the entire 4 quarters and absolutely dominate up front there. They need to keep the ball out of Jaren Hall's hands as much as possible by dominating time of possession. BYU is 91st in run defense. They're not going to be able to stop anything. And with a solid secondary, I'm not really going to put it in Drew Pine's hand to try to beat them with our, like we said, 2 good receivers. The offensive line.
Good receiver to tight end.
Yeah, well, sure. We're going to be. The offensive line should have an absolute field day today, but it's going to be critical that they get to the second level because BYU has some 2 really good run-stopping linebackers in Ben Bywater and Max Tooley. They play downhill and have really quick first steps and reading run plays, so they're going to need to be able to beat their man and get to the second level, block those linebackers if they're going to have a successful running game. We talked about Jaren Hall. Now I want to talk about Keanu Hill, too. A little bit on the BYU side now. He is going to be the guy to stop. It's need to key in on him. I want a safety and coverage there all the time, right behind him, because he's a big play machine. He averages 20.6 yards per catch. That's good for 19th in the country. And he had 160 yards and 2 touchdowns against Wyoming. He's legit. He scares me, and he's going to be the reason if BYU's able to win. But I think we're going to be able to slow him down. I don't see BYU winning. Consistency's been the biggest problem with them, kind of similar to Notre Dame. But I think Notre Dame's just going to be able to take this one. So they're going to let the dogs out. They're going to roll 28-21. Notre Dame's going to win with the game never really in doubt.
John gave you a nice long-winded analysis. I will keep it short and simple. 4s are up. I got 4 words for you. Run the dang ball. This is grit and grind. We got 3 running backs, all of which are raring to go against a run defense that has been abysmal this year. If we're going to beat this BYU team, it is going to be on the ground, in the trenches, getting dirty. Audric Estime, like you said, big game Estime. Chris Tyree, you see here, getting involved, making big plays. Logan Diggs maybe a little bit, especially in those passing downs. This is a 3-headed attack, a 3-headed monster in the backfield that is just waiting to be unleashed. If we need to pass it, sure, let it be a compliment. You obviously have one of the greatest weapons, one of the greatest mismatches in college football in Michael Mayer. Get him the ball, get Lorenzo Styles the ball, pass, when needed. But keep it simple. 4 words for you all: run the dang ball.
Record then prediction as well. What do we? I also record prediction. We'll give you what you had 8-4, John, in our production meeting.
I think we're winning this game. Going to drop Clemson and probably USC, but that's debatable.
Okay.
On the other end,
score.
I'll go 24-21 first of all. But I think we also go 8-4, but in a different vein. I think we beat one of those. I think we get an upset win against one of Clemson or USC. I also think we drop a game against a team we're not expected to drop because, that's the nature of this. First-year head coaches, young teams. You're going to lose a game you don't expect to.
4-1.
I don't know who we're going to lose to, but I do think it's going to be someone we don't expect. But I also think we are going to beat someone no one expects us to beat, and we will get to have that season-defining moment that maybe jump-starts the Marcus Freeman era.
I'd love to see that.
Well, that's Shamrock Sports here for you on a very Viva Las Vegas show. Well, whether Notre Dame will come out victorious is what you're going to have to view and watch for yourself on NBC 7:30. It's been a great game. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of your Friday with us right here on Shamrock Sports. For my good partners, JJ Post, John Baylor, I'm Jacob Biden, signing off. Viva Las Vegas, baby. I'll see you guys.